Hi YouTube, it's Aquila, obviously, and if you click on my face you can check out my channel, Smoothie Freak. But this is Mental Floss on YouTube. Did you know that art theft has caused about $4 to $6 billion in losses around the world, and that the only more costly crimes are drug trafficking, money laundering, and arms dealing? Plus, the average recovery rate for stolen art is only about 2 to 6%. Today, I'm going to tell you about some art heists, so let's get started. In 1990, two men posing as police demanded to be let into Boston's Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. They tied the two museum guards up in the basement, then raided the museum. In the largest property theft in U.S. history, the pair collected over $600 million worth of art, including 5 pieces by Gogh. Not a single painting has been recovered. Also in Boston, Miles J. Connor Jr. stole a Rembrandt portrait from the Museum of Fine Arts in 1975 on the same day jurors were being picked for his trial in another burglary case. 9 months later, Connor brokered the painting's return for a reduced sentence in that other case. He ended up with a 4-year sentence rather than 15 years. He was in jail at the time of the Gardner Museum heist, but some suspect Connor to have somehow been involved. There are 4 different versions of Edvard Munch's The Scream, so it has technically been stolen twice. In 1994, it was taken from Oslo's National Gallery, then recovered 3 months later. On August 22, 2004, a different version was stolen from Oslo's Munch Museum in broad daylight. Armed thieves took it right off the wall. Police found the getaway car containing 2 empty frames, but the painting was recovered 2 years later. Also on August 22nd, this time in 1911, Louvre handyman Vincenzo Peruggia stole the Mona Lisa. Suspects included J.P. Morgan and Pablo Picasso, which made the crime and the painting infamous, so it was impossible for Peruggia to sell it off quickly. 2 years later, Peruggia tried to sell the Mona Lisa to an art dealer in Florence, who promptly turned him in. Peruggia was sentenced to 8 months in prison. Another Da Vinci piece, Madonna with the Yarn Winder, was stolen in 2003 when 2 men, posing as tourists at the Drumlanrig Castle in Scotland, used an axe to grab it during a tour. Security cameras captured them leaving the castle with a $50 million painting casually tucked under one arm. In 2007, officers recovered the painting and arrested 4 men. For 30 years, Hungarian Elmer de Ori sold forgeries of paintings by artists like Picasso, Matisse, and Degas. His forgeries were so detailed that they could trick extremely experienced art buyers. He attracted his own following and eventually his own forgers. On August 13, 2011, a Rembrandt drawing worth around $250,000 was lifted from the Marina del Rey Ritz-Carlton. The hotel's curator was actually right there, but distracted by a guest. The piece was recovered 2 days later in a pastor's office in Encino, California. He wasn't a suspect. In 1937, a private collector loaned Renoir's landscape on the banks of the Seine to the Baltimore Museum of Art, where it was stolen in 1951. In 2012, it resurfaced at a West Virginia flea market when a woman paid $7 for it. It's worth at least $75,000. A judge ordered that the painting be returned to the Baltimore Museum. The Adoration of the Mystic Lamb, a 24-panel piece by Jan van Eyck, has only had 23 panels since 1934, when a panel, known as Just Judges, was stolen from a cathedral in Ghent. The police showed up late to the crime scene and didn't stay long because they were in the middle of investigating a cheese theft. But we all know the real cheese theft culprit. 13 subsequent ransom notes sent to the bishop promised its return in exchange for 1 million Belgian francs. Shockingly, the bishop wasn't interested in negotiating with the criminals. The piece remains missing. A decade after he died, Texan Joe Metter became the prime suspect in the 1945 theft of a collection of medieval artworks and manuscripts from the town of Quedlinburg. The pieces were moved to a mine shaft during World War II, which is where they disappeared from, just days after American troops, including Metter, occupied the area. In December 2011, a bronze sculpture by Barbara Hepworth was stolen from its perch in London's Dulwich Park. Investigators speculated that the culprits were metal thieves rather than art thieves. Once melted down for scrap, the piece would be worth about $1,250. In its art form, more than $800,000. I wonder how much money we'd get if we melted down this belt buckle. Something similar happened in December 2005 when a Henry Moore sculpture was stolen from the Henry Moore Foundation estate in Hertfordshire. Thieves used a crane and truck to remove the sculpture quickly. It was originally worth $5 million, but the thieves went the scrapyard route and received around $2,500. In 2006, during Rio de Janeiro's annual Carnival, 4 armed men were able to grab approximately $50 million in paintings from the Chacra de Seo Art Museum, including works by Picasso, Monet, and Dali. Then, they managed to disappear into the crowd of partygoers. This made the FBI's top 10 art crimes. Speaking of Monet, a cardboard copy of Beach in Peruggia was left in place of the original and almost fooled authorities at the National Museum of Poland, who were unknowingly robbed in September 2000. It took police a decade to catch the thief, who had the original artwork hanging on his wall. In April 2003, at the Whitworth Art Gallery in Manchester, thieves eluded alarms, guards, and security cameras while the museum was closed. They took off with paintings from Gauguin, Van Gogh, and Picasso. All 3 were recovered in a public bathroom less than a quarter-mile away with this note: "The intention was not to steal, only to highlight the woeful security." On May 20th, 2010, a burglar took 5 paintings from the Musée d'Art Moderne in Paris. He broke a padlock and smashed a window to take paintings by Picasso, Matisse, and Modigliani, worth more than $100 million. Officials partially blamed the incident on the new alarm system, which wasn't functioning properly. In 1991, what could have been one of the art world's most expensive heists turned out to be one of its shortest-lived instead. 2 men stole 20 paintings from the Van Gogh Museum, only to abandon all of them in a getaway car 35 minutes later. The Van Gogh Museum was also a target in December 2002 when burglars took 2 paintings. Thanks to DNA evidence and eyewitness accounts, the men were quickly caught and sentenced to more than 3 years in prison apiece. The paintings haven't been recovered. In July 2002, 5 paintings were stolen from the National Fine Arts Museum in Paraguay, which was hosting one of the biggest exhibitions in its history. The thieves had rented a shop 80 feet from the museum, then recruited people to help them dig a 10-foot tunnel into the museum. In 2010, thieves stormed Stockholm's National Museum with a machine gun, stole $30 million worth of paintings, a Rembrandt and 2 Renoirs, and escaped on a speedboat. They distracted police with decoy bombs, making the heist possible. The paintings were eventually recovered, and 8 men were convicted. Here on Mental Floss, we have our own decoy bomb. On February 10, 2008, 3 masked men arrived at the entrance of the E.G. Burrell collection in Zurich, forced employees onto the ground, and stole paintings by Cézanne, Degas, Van Gogh, and Monet, worth an estimated $163 million. 2 of the paintings were found about a week later in a car parked in a nearby hospital parking lot. The Cézanne and Degas paintings were recovered separately in 2012. In August 1961, Kempton Bunton climbed through an unlocked window of a restroom in London's National Gallery and allegedly stole Francisco Goya's Portrait of the Duke of Wellington. Goya was a 61-year-old retired bus driver who stole it in protest of the government's decision to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep the painting in Britain. He confessed in 1965, but was only convicted of stealing the frame and served 3 months. The story got weirder in 2012 when Bunton's son confessed to the crime, even though his father had already been tried. No charges were filed. On an early December 1966 morning, someone took a drill to a door at London's Dulwich Picture Gallery. They stole 8 pieces, including Rembrandt's Jacob de Gane III. All of the paintings were recovered less than a week later. This same painting was stolen and recovered 3 more times. It holds the Guinness World Record for world's most frequently stolen artwork. In 1946, 3 paintings by Georgia O'Keeffe were stolen from an American place, a gallery run by her husband, Alfred Stieglitz. She didn't want to upset him, so O'Keeffe didn't report them missing until 1972. In 1976, the paintings were sold to the Princeton Gallery of Fine Art. O'Keeffe filed a lawsuit for the return, and though the statute of limitations had expired, the court sided with her. On November 17, 1969, thieves picked the lock of art dealer Stephen Hahn's gallery in New York City and stole 7 paintings, including works by Cassatt and Monet, worth approximately $500,000. Ironically, while his gallery was being robbed, Hahn was with the board of directors at the Art Directors Association of America, discussing art theft. Finally, I returned to the salon to tell you about the largest robbery in Israel's history. In 1983, 106 paintings, artifacts, and watches were stolen from the LA Mayer Museum for Islamic Art in Jerusalem. This included a $30 million pocket watch made by Abraham Louis Breguet for Marie Antoinette. In 2004, notorious criminal Naaman Diller admitted the theft to his wife on his deathbed. She was convicted of receiving stolen property in 2010 and sentenced to 5 years probation and 300 hours of community service. One of the many reasons not to marry notorious criminals. Thanks for watching Mental Floss on YouTube, which is made with the help of all of these nice people. Every week, we endeavor to answer one of your mind-blowing questions. This week's question comes from Benji Buttons, who asks, when did people start using wallets? Well, people have used some form of wallet basically since coins started becoming currency and they needed somewhere to stash them. The modern bifold wallet with all of the card slots became standardized in the early 1950s when credit cards were first introduced. If you have a mind-blowing question you'd like answered, leave it in the comments and we'll try to answer it. Thanks for watching, I'm Akila, and don't forget to be awesome.